Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. In this week's video, it's no surprise, we're going to be reviewing the DJI Osmo Action 6. And as you know, I've been on the lookout for a backup camera to my Pocket 3 and my Canon R5, and I haven't had much luck trying the Osmo 360, the Osmo Nano, which was a really good camera. But can this do something more? And have I finally got the answer to what us photographers need? Okay, so why have I bought this? I've alluded to it at the start, but basically I'm looking for something that I can fire up on my dashboard, I can view the road ahead, lovely scenes of where I'm going in Scotland, and then I can turn it round, do some talky bits to the camera while I'm driving so that I don't need to keep stopping. I've tried the Osmo Nano, I've got the Pocket 3, I've tried the Insta360, I've tried the Osmo 360 in the car, and none of them really did what I was looking for. But the promise is that the Action 6 has a 1/1.1 inch sensor, and I'm hoping that the fact that coupled with it's now got a variable aperture of f2 to f4, that there will be enough light on the scene for me to do things in the sunrise and at sunset when I'm trying to talk to you guys while I'm taking photographs. So let's see how I go on. There's a ton of footage coming up and you be the judge of it. But I'll be up front, this is not going to be a technical review, it's a real world review. What does it look like? How easy is it to use? Should you buy it? It's not about it's got this sensor, it's got this frame rate, it's got all of these different things. It's what do you use it for and does it actually work? Because to me, that's far more important. Oh, and this review isn't sponsored, so it's all my own thoughts and all my own experiences. And it is a fairly new camera, so if I'm doing something wrong, just shout at me in the comments as always, guys. So whilst I've said this is not going to be a technical review, it would be remiss of me not to go over some of the specs for you guys out there that want to know this stuff. So I'm going to get my glasses, I'm going to get my phone, and I'm going to read them because I can't keep that in my brain. I'm just a simple photographer. Okay, so let's get into the tech geek stuff. As I've already stated, it has a 1/1.1 inch CMOS sensor, which is approximately 38 megapixels if you're taking still photographs. It has an ultra-wide 155 degree field of view, which I might have got wrong in the video, but that's what it is. It has a variable aperture that I've talked about from f2 to f4, and you do have limited control over that, but I have set it on auto for the purposes of this video, and the camera will choose based on the light settings. And just a quick caveat here, from what I've used of the camera so far, I find that the f2 to f4 choice is basically about letting more light in. It doesn't open up too many creative avenues for you, like if you were shooting on your mirrorless camera and you go from f11 to f2.8 and blow out the background. That doesn't seem to be happening, but it's still great to let more light in. It has a 4K 16:9 and shoots 4:3 up to 120 frames per second. It's a 4K square sensor, which is 3840 pixels by 3840 pixels, funnily enough, and you can use that up to 60 frames per second, and you can shoot 1080p up to 240 frames per second. But why would you? It has 10-bit recording in D-Log-M in the standard modes, and if you choose to shoot in the normal colour profile, you get great results with that too. It has Rocksteady 3.0 and also Rocksteady 3.0 Plus for those that need that little bit of something extra. It has horizon balancing. It has horizon balancing and horizon steady. It's waterproof down to 20 meters without a case and down to 60 meters, I think, if you do use a case. It has 50 gigabytes of internal storage. If you forget your memory card, absolute lifesaver. You can also put in a micro SD card, which is up to 1 terabyte. It also comes with a 1950 milliamp hour battery, which should be fine for most cases, but I bought the combo, which has 2 extra batteries and a lot of other attachments, and it really is worth looking at that version. And finally, the bottom is magnetic, and as you know in this channel, we love a magnet. So now that we've got the technical specs out the way, everything from here on in is going to be shot on the Osmo Action 6, apart from some B-roll, but that's because I'm filming the Action 6, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's have a look. So as you know, one of the main reasons that I've bought an Action 6, it's the same as when I bought the Osmo Nano, and also I tried to do it with the Pocket 3, was to have decent shots inside the car. But what I found with the Pocket 3 and the Osmo Nano was that the darker areas of the car looked either very noisy or there was a lot of smearing in them, and it just didn't look particularly good to the eye. So I'm hoping with a 1/1.1 sensor it looks a little bit better. So what do you think? What does it look like? Because I must admit the ease of use for this is very, very good. I'm using the DJI suction cup with a dual ball head, putting it on the windscreen so I can angle the camera pretty much any way I want, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And that's better than the old suction cups and the system that I'd rigged up for the Pocket 3. It was not easy to use and it was very, very limited. So far I'm finding the ease of use on this very, very good. But again, this whole video is not about the technical specs, it's not about whether you can go snowboarding, it's does the footage look good? Does the fact that it's now got an open gate sensor, which you can shoot vertical and horizontal at the same time, really make a difference? Because one of my concerns is, if it's a square sensor and I'm using it in landscape all the time, am I losing detail? Is it cropping in and am I losing resolution? Another thing that can't be understated is the ease of use for the magnetic attachment system. So with this, the same as the Osmo Nano and also the Action 5s and potentially the 4, it's just a clip magnetic system. And I've got this sitting on a rubber suction cup at the moment, just sitting on a wall, and that's making it really easy for me to pop it down and do those shots where you look as if somebody else is filming you and you just walk by the camera and away you go onto your next location. So yet again, I've now switched from using the little suction cup and I'm now on the selfie stick, which comes with the Creator Bundle. I think that's what it's called. I'll put the name of that up. But basically, I've got it half extended. It's very good for a vlogging setup. Got my DJI Mic 2, which is connecting to it automatically. I do have the Mic 3 on order. But again, it's making it very easy for me to come out and vlog. And I've got it set on horizon steady mode, as I mentioned in the car, which means I can rotate it 90 degrees either way, and hopefully the horizon is staying nice and level. So I'm not worried about framing my shots. Which brings me to my next point. It has dual monitors. You can see yourself while you're filming. I'm just off to the left of the camera there. Try not to look at it because that's so annoying. But basically, I can see that I'm in the frame. So for some reason, if I move it over here, it does a really good job of pointing all the way down the selfie stick and keeping me in the middle. If I did something like that, then obviously it's not going to work. But me with my bad eyes, not wearing glasses, trying to look cool, I can see that I'm in the middle of the frame. And it'll be interesting to see what the bounce is like while I'm walking. I'm not doing the ninja walk, and this is somewhere where the Pocket 3 really suffers. So I guess one of the questions I'm trying to answer is, could this be a vlogging camera? It certainly seems like it so far. It's also worth noting at this point that I've got the camera set up using all of its automatic modes. I'm in Pro mode, but I'm using automatic white balance, I'm using auto exposure, and as always, the only thing that I set is the D-Log colour, so that when I get back and I start editing this, I can slap some LUTs on it and make it look a little bit more, dare I say it, cinematic. Oh, and another thing, I'm letting the camera select the noise reduction and the sharpness, which sits at 0. I normally turn them both down to -2 so that I can deal with that in the post-editing later on. While the Action 6 does its thing and takes its time-lapse of the clouds moving over Loch Lomond, I'm not worried that it's sitting precariously on a wall over the water, because the unit is waterproof, as opposed to the Pocket 3, which I'm shooting on just now. And as you know, any sort of moisture, sweat, or even steam, and this thing starts to shake. But have a look at this. I've got it sitting on the wall, doing its thing, and if it fell in there, all I have to do is roll up my jeans, get in, and then spend the next fortnight in bed with the flu. So we're back in the car. And there's one little thing that's already starting to annoy me. I'm going between the Pocket 3 and the Action 6, and I'm having to reconnect the mic every single time I switch camera. It would be great if DJI could sort that out and have the mic search for whatever camera's on and have dual connection. I don't know if that's possible. I know I could have 2 microphones, one linked to one camera and one linked to the other, but I think that's a bit of a faff, and I struggle not losing this thing, never mind having 2. So it's just something to think about. So let's give it another bit of a test as a vlogging camera. And it's starting to get dark. We're only about 45 minutes away from the sunset now. And we're going under the trees, getting some shade. And I'm not using the night mode. Again, how does it look in 4K 30? I think it's starting to look okay. but definitely getting a little bit duller. So again, let's talk about the vlogging capabilities of this camera. I've got it on the selfie stick. It's extended about 3/4 of the way out, and I've got it pointing to my belly button, so I know I'm in the middle of the frame. And certainly by looking at the screen just off to the side, it looks as if it's doing a good job. We obviously won't know until we see the footage when we get back home, and I know I might be unfair comparing it to the Pocket 3, which is a dedicated 1-inch sensor, but that camera is now over 2 years old, and the Pocket 4 apparently is just round the corner. So how does this stack up with new software, new technology? It should be able to do a good job. And if that is the case, could this be the only camera you need for vlogging? I definitely think that's a possibility. So I know I've mentioned a couple of different things that you can use to go hands-free and get away from the camera, from the suction cup or the little tripod stand. But what I didn't mention is that the bottom of the camera is magnetised. So at the moment, I've got you on a bit of metal, I'm completely hands-free, and I've not had to bring any other attachments with me. And that makes the thing even easier to use. So that's a big thumbs up. So on to the main reason why I bought this. And it's for shots like this, the point of view shot. Because for a long time on my channel, I've wanted to show you the back of my camera as I set up my composition. You can see how I'm framing things before I take the shot. Now I could do this with the Pocket 3 as it has a dedicated mount for your backpack, but as we all know, that's a fragile little unit and I'd be too scared that I'd forget, put my backpack down and break the thing. Not so with the Action 6, it's absolutely robust and it's perfect for things like this. The only downside is the unit doesn't come with a chest mount, and that costs £35, and I think that if the footage stands up to proper scrutiny, then that will be the next thing that I buy. So I think it's fair to say we're now shooting in low light, and I'm not using the dedicated mode at the moment because I want to see what it's like if I shoot it just at 4K 30 frames per second using all the auto modes like I've been doing so far. Because one of the cameras that I used in the past, I actually found that the dedicated night mode wasn't as good in low light as just shooting normally with auto. So I'm quite keen to see if that's the same case with this. So as I say, this is it in normal mode. Let's flick it over and let's start shooting in the dedicated night mode. And this is super night mode, and I've eventually remembered what it's called. But I'm very keen to see if this actually enhances the quality of the footage, whether it saves the shadows, what it looks like, or is it going to look too plasticky, or is it going to be too noisy and smearing in the shadows? Because this is the time of night when I do like to shoot. The sun has been down now for maybe about 20 minutes, but it's still kind of blue hour, and as you know, I make a lot of videos in blue hour, and it's really vital that I get some sort of camera that can give me decent footage. Is this the one? Okay, so there you have it. I don't know what you thought about it, but basically my impressions after having it for about a week or so is the fact that it feels great in the hand, it's a very sturdy unit and it's really well thought out. It blends seamlessly into the DJI ecosystem, so within seconds I knew where everything was. And the best thing about it was that I really managed to tick most of the boxes that I was looking to tick. The in-car footage, while still not as good as the Pocket 3, was infinitely better than the Nano, so that's something that I'm definitely going to use. When it came to the field of view shots, I was really happy with that. There's enough field of view there to make sure that I don't miss the camera in front of me. It could be a little bit sharper, but again we were in very low light at that point. But one of the things I was really surprised with was just how good the super night mode was. Yeah, it's using a lot of software and you can see some smearing on the face and the skin textures, but it is entirely usable. And for me, as I say at the start, when I'm out in the sunrise and it's only 45 minutes till the sun comes up, that could be a lifesaver and a game changer. So my overall view of the Action 6 is fantastic. I can't believe it's only £300, so for me it's not something that's going to break the bank, so it was worth taking a risk with. But if you're moving up from the Action 5, is it worth it? I didn't own that camera, so if you look at the side-by-side comparisons and some other reviews, some people are saying it's not. But if this is your first foray into an action camera ecosystem, then I would heartily recommend it, especially if you're trying to use it for the things that I'm using it for. So well done DJI, I think you've knocked this one out of the park and I'm really looking forward to using it. There are a couple of downsides, I've mentioned some of them throughout the video, but there are little things, quality of life things that I think they could have done better. There's no lens cap, for example, so I'm petrified to put it into my camera bag and let it rumble about in there. I mentioned about having to constantly change from DJI mic to my Nano to my Pocket. Surely in this day and age there's got to be something better. And again, it would have been nice if the whole combo had came with a bag, like the Pocket 3 did, because it keeps everything together and you don't lose things. But those are really minor gripes. I mean, for the package and the price and the quality of the footage, for me, I think I found my answer. But then again, the Pocket 4 apparently is coming out before Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed that video, guys, and if you have, then please give it a like, and even better if you could hit that subscribe button and make this old boy with bad knees very, very happy. There's a new video coming very shortly, but in the meantime, I'd watch this one. Thanks, guys. See you soon.